We feel like this is a good cross-section of opinion of the public at large onto their wants and requirements and the future of the city of Fort Worth. We're pleased to report that on the 6 propositions, approximately 89% of the people were in favor of the street improvement program, 96% of the people were in favor of the sewage improvement program, 96% of the people were in favor of the fire and police, 87% of the people were in favor of park and recreation, 65% in favor of the aviation proposition, and 75% favorable to the library, new library.
Mr. Mayor, of all these findings, which is the most significant to the city? Which is the most urgent? Which should be taken care of first?
My personal opinion is that the area of fire and police protection, streets and sewage carry the number 1 priorities.
Well, you've all recently seen the new population figures for Dallas County, and this shows tremendous and unprecedented growth in Dallas, and we've spent huge sums of money keeping up with this growth. Going back just 4 short years ago, we spent $33 million for construction in Dallas County. Last year, $64 million, and this year our construction program is $77 million. So in addition to huge amounts of money needed for construction, we also have been hit by inflation, as so many other people, and this has added to our cost of operation. Our taxes have gone up almost 300%. Our local payroll has gone up over 130%. And since 1952, when we had our last general rate increase, there has only been a small increment for the introduction of metropolitan calling service, which was introduced in 1968. And this enlarged the free calling area and expanded the calls throughout the greater Dallas area and eliminated the interzone charges at that time.
As far as the future is concerned, what do you see for the Air Force Reserves?
Well, we look for an increased activity and participation in different aircraft as, of course, the national military economy is cut back and the active establishment takes the cuts. We feel that there is a growing importance for the Air Force Reserve in the use of the equipment and in the defense of the country.
There's a lot of talk about the volunteer Army and Air Force and so on. The Air Force has been volunteer all along, as far as I know. What about the Air Force? How will this affect you in the reserves if we have an all-volunteer armed services?
We don't really know. I think that that's a very cloudy issue, and I think there's going to have to be a lot of talk and a lot of study before we come with the all-volunteer Air Force. Of course, in the reserve, we are primarily volunteer.
We're going to try to sell individual game tickets and particularly concentrate on the UTA, Baylor, and SMU games.
Tell us about this UTA game.
It'd be the first time that a game has been played, intercollegiate football game between 2 Tarrant County schools, University of Texas at Arlington and TCU. It'll be the opening game of the season, and we hope to make it an annual affair.
You talked with Coach Taylor and with Abe Martin. What sort of football team do we have this year?
Oh, I think the team will be improved. It's a young team. They're building for the future. There's, I believe, 65 freshmen out in spring training, so it's a team, I think, that's on its way.
Now, to make it clear, coronary artery disease is a disease that involves the coronary arteries that supply blood to the heart, and that's why these arteries are so vital.
Well, what strides are you making, Doctor?
Well, we're making some advances, and this is what I plan to talk about. Advances that are directed towards improving and relieving the effects of the disease in terms of diminishing the blood flow, so that we're developing ways and means by which we can improve the blood flow to the coronary arteries to overcome the blockage that occurs from the arteriosclerosis that causes the disease and produces the narrowing or blockage of these arteries. Now, the most important development that has taken place in recent years in this regard has been the procedure of arteriography, which is a way of visualizing on X-ray by injection of a dye the arteries, and then you can precisely see where the blockage occurs. And on the basis of that, and depending upon where this blockage occurs, we can apply certain surgical methods which open up these arteries by removing the blockage directly and restoring the normal lumen and normal blood flow, or by bypassing the blockage by taking a graft, such as a vein from the leg, and attaching it above the blockage and then down below the blockage. And in this way, blood is shunted around it, and one can restore virtually normal circulation to the heart.
Well, I think the really serious thing about what the Vice President created and formalized in the speech he made last November, and which he's reinforced with succeeding speeches, is the feeling that somehow the newsman must respond to public opinion, in the sense that he must be guided by what public opinion says or thinks. And to my mind, and I think to the mind of most anyone interested in professional journalism, the newsman should not be guided by anything that the public thinks. What he should be guided by is what is the best type of reporting. What is the story? What are the facts? How best to present the facts to best represent what has happened. This is the thing that a newsman has to work for.
Well, his personality, for one thing. He tolerates our children beautifully, which takes a great deal. We also have a blind poodle that he eats with, sleeps with, gets along with, just unusually well for cat and dog relationships.
Now, when you entered him in this contest, did you have any hope of him being a winner?
No, certainly not.
Tom, would you come here a minute? Would you come here and talk to an old newsman? Come here. Look right up in that camera, Tom, because do you know that if you go to Miami Beach in July, now listen to me, you're going to get a mink cape, you're going to get an oil painting, you're going to get to go to a fashion show, you're going to get to unwind yarn, climb posts, you're going to be met by a band, get a motorcade to the Hotel Fontainebleau, one of the biggest. Don't twitch your ear at me. It's going to be a lot of fun, isn't it? Look up there at your public. Doesn't it just make you sick? This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Dr. DeBakey, do you feel that the DeBakey-Cooley feud and rivalry has been overworked at this point?
It was overworked from the beginning. You have to have two people to have a feud, and I don't have time for a feud.
How did it all happen with you and Dr. Cooley?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, nothing happened. Now, the problem of arteriosclerosis is related to the development of a lesion that involves the artery.
Well, I think the most hopeful thing would be a continuation of production of the FB-111, the strategic bomber version of the F-111. I think we need them. The B-1, assuming that all goes well, assuming that there are no slippages or delays in the production of this sophisticated new system, still could not come into the inventory and operational quantities until at the very earliest 1978. And more probably not until 1980. Meanwhile, we have nothing except the few FB-111s in the way of a modern bomber on which to depend. The old aging fleet of subsonic B-52s needs very much to be replaced. It is not compatible with today's needs. So I think the most hopeful thing is that we will be able to prevail upon the administration to purchase the 300 FB-111s that the Air Force says are its requirement. I think we need them to give this country that extra